Okay, so we'll do a nice, gentle, slow stretch. Stay pretty low to the ground today, and then maybe end with a few just nice, juicy, restful, restorative postures. So first, taking a moment, as always, just to kind of check in, find ourselves, find our breath, and start to allow the nervous system to wind down a little bit. So if you're on your mat or props or wherever you're seated, creating that sense of just rooting down through your base, feeling that gentle connection through your sits bones, glutes, parts of the legs or feet. And imagining that as your foundation, that earthward connection. And as we keep that sense of connection at our base, we start to create that gentle lengthening in the spine. Finding your skyward energy at the crown of the head, gently drawing a little longer, a little taller, but still staying soft in the back. Finding just a little more softness in the face, maybe finding a little smile, a little more softness into the shoulders. And then drawing awareness to the sense of your breath. Staying for a moment with your breath just as it exists, as you're arriving on your mat, not changing anything. Starting to cultivate that sense of investigation, of curiosity, observation, as you just notice the quality, the feeling, the sense of the breath as it comes, and of the breath as it goes. And then we'll start to slowly move into a pranayama practice here, breath practice. And this one includes a little bit of breath retention. So as always, if breath retention starts to make your nervous system feel a little more agitated rather than less, please just leave it out, and long, slow, deep breaths are just fine. So this is usually called box breath or square breath. And we're going to inhale to the count of 4. So with your next inhale, gentle count 4. Hold for the same 4. Exhale 4. Hold at the bottom 4. So 4 different things here. Each one we're going to hold for the count of 4 seconds. We'll move through this a few times with 4 seconds. Kind of tune into how that feels for you. Can you get a full breath at 4 seconds? Can you get a full exhale with 4 seconds? Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. And then if you don't feel like you can quite get a full inhale with 4, increase that inhale, but increase your hold and your exhale and your hold to the same. So 5, 5, 5, 5, or 6 seconds. Finding whatever that rhythm is for you so you can fully expand with your inhale, but it's not too long of a hold to be uncomfortable. And we'll move through a few more breaths here. And taking one more cycle, equal inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And letting go of your breath control, just finding a nice, deep, easy breathing rhythm. If the eyes are not already fully open, bring your eyes fully open. If you like to bring Ujjayi into your practice here, you're welcome to. So allowing your hands to just rest down at the thighs for a moment. We're going to inhale, shrug the shoulders all the way up toward the ears. Pull your shoulders toward the space behind you. Exhale, let them slide down the back. We'll take a few shoulder shrugs that direction. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, draw back, lower. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And then let the shoulders fall all the way away from the ears. We'll switch directions. Draw them back, opening through the heart. Lift them up, pull them forward, and let them come down. Inhale, back and lift. Exhale, forward and lower. And let the shoulders soften all the way away from the ears. And we're going to make sure we still have that nice long, tall spine, long through the cervical spine. Take a big inhale in center, light from the crown of the head. With your exhale, drop your left shoulder to your left ear to your left shoulder. Take one more breath here, and then with your next inhale, lift the neck all the way back up, long spine. Your exhale, right ear, right shoulder. Next inhale, lift the head back up. We're going to come back to the first side, lower left ear, left shoulder. This time, lift that right hand, reach it just outside the right hip. Reach those fingertips in the opposite direction of where the crown of the head is pointing. And then start to rotate the chin out toward the top of the left shoulder. Rotating the gaze forward, ear over shoulder, bringing that hand back to the lap. Lift the head all the way back up. Pause in the center through a full breath. Use an inhale, create some length. Exhale, right ear, right shoulder. Take that left hand out, reaching the fingertips, finding that stretch for the side of the neck, and then rotate the chin out to the top of the right shoulder. Rotating the gaze forward, ear over shoulder. Hand comes into the thigh. Lift the head all the way back up. Take a full breath. Take an inhale, find some length. And then with an exhale, lower the chin down toward the chest, bringing the gaze down, maybe just in front of the legs, maybe all the way down to the lap. And pause for a breath, thinking about drawing additional length at the back of the neck. Next inhale, lift the head all the way back up. And then we're gonna take the left shoulder out to the left side. Okay, I don't know my anatomy today. We're gonna take the left arm out to the left side. We're gonna rotate the thumb to face down toward the floor. We're gonna bend the elbow and slide the back of that hand onto the low back. So check in, depending on your range here, it may be the back of the hand pressing into your low back, or you may be able to bring that arm in a little further and the forearm will press into the low back. Either way, we're pressing in with that left arm, drawing your left shoulder toward the space behind you, and then we're gonna take the gaze in the opposite direction. So chin comes over right shoulder. And bringing the gaze back around to the front, slide that left arm out. Just let it dangle beside the hip for a moment. Give it a nice little shake. And then we'll rest that hand back how is comfortable. Right arm comes out to the right side, thumb pointing down. Bend the elbow, slide the back of the hand to the low back, check in. If you have further to go, slide all the way in. Forearm presses in, Shoulder draws back, looking for that little stretch through anterior deltoid, into the pec, maybe into the center of the chest, and then bringing the gaze in the opposite direction. Allowing the gaze to come forward, relax that right arm, let it dangle outside the hip, give it a nice little shake. And we'll bring both arms around behind the low back. You can either just keep your hands reaching toward the space behind your glutes. If you feel like they're in reach, go ahead and interlace the fingers behind your low back and then draw those interlaced fingers toward the earth behind your glutes. So now stretching through the whole fronts of the shoulders and pecs. Take a couple breaths here. If you feel like you have further to go with each inhale, lifting those hands a little higher from your spine. Start to slide those arms back toward the sacrum. If they're laced, unlace the fingers. We're gonna slide the hands all the way around to heart center. Interlace your fingers at heart center. Flip the palms to face away from you. Round through the spine as you reach the palms away and gaze down between your arms. And then take those interlaced fingers all the way up overhead, reaching long through the crown of the head, long through the arms. Pause for a breath. Wait for another full inhale, lift. Exhale, side bend right, keeping that left hip rooted. Next inhale, lifting center. Your next out breath will take you left, keeping the right hip rooted. Next inhale, we're gonna lift through center. We're gonna use an exhale just to tuck the interlaced fingers to the base of the skull. And then with an inhale, open through the heart, reach your elbows back, open the throat, lift the gaze. With an exhale, draw the navel to spine, gazes down. Imagine those elbows are gonna try to touch one another in front of the head. With an inhale, open the heart, stretch the fronts of the shoulders. With an exhale, round elbows draw forward. Take a couple more movements each direction. Take one more, rounding forward, and then bring yourself back to neutral. And then we're going to use those elbows to lead us into a twist. So we're going to keep both sides of the pelvis nice and grounded. We're going to think about twisting from the center of the body, twisting from the thoracic spine. So take a big inhale here. And then with an exhale, imagine your right elbow reaching toward the front of your space. Heart turns to the left, only going as far as you can go with heart starting to curve forward in your spine, so without slumping forward. Inhale, moving through center. Exhale, twisting opposite direction, just as far as you can go without starting to bend forward. Inhale, center, exhale, twist. Find one or two more so you're balanced. After that last one, coming through center, we're gonna bring those hands out from behind the head. Let them just rest down beside the hips or on the lap for a moment. Take a couple more shoulder shrugs, either direction. Give the arms a little shake. And then we're gonna bring the legs out for a wide forward fold, but we're gonna keep it nice and soft at first and keep a bend into the knees. So if you're on props now and you wanna stay on props for a moment, feel free. Nice, good bend into the knees, heels are connected and the toes are just kind of dangling. We'll bring our fingertips down toward the earth between the thighs. Take a big inhale, lengthen through your spine. As you exhale, starting to round through the spine, walk or slide your hands out. We're gonna come down till we start to find some sensation or stretch. Taking that moment to notice where you feel it with that generous bend into the knees. And when you find that first edge, then beginning to create a little side to side movement, letting your belly reach a little closer or press a little more firmly into one thigh and then the other. Check in if you feel like this side to side movement creates a little more openness. Maybe you could slide a little further into your folds. And then keeping that same little gentle side to side movement as you come back up, starting to lift the torso, slide or walk the hands in. We'll come all the way to the top, leave the legs as they are, lean back a little, bring the hands to the earth behind your glutes, lean back and find some seated windshield wipers. And lifting the legs back to stillness. If you're up on props, we'll go ahead and plop down off of our props. Unless you want to keep your props and then just don't listen to me. And then we'll slide the legs long back of the knees coming down onto the earth. And now our toes are pointed up toward the ceiling. And then we'll do two versions of our fold here. So fingertips still coming toward the space between the thighs. We're going to inhale, lift through the crown of the head. Exhale, draw the heart directly forward. Pause where the spine is still neutral. Maybe noticing here where you find some stretch or sensation. And then take another deep inhale. As you exhale, rounding through the spine, maybe hands slide or walk a little further out. As you change the sense of where you're stretching here, notice where that second edge is. Come down to that point, and then we'll again bring in that little bit of side to side movement, letting your belly sway toward one thigh and then the other. Keeping that nice little side to side movement as you go. Start that slow roll all the way back up. And then again, bringing yourself back to some seated windshield wipers. So leaning back a little, connect your hands, slide the heels in. Let those knees move side to side as the opposite hip lifts. And lifting the knees back up. We're going to come around to a tabletop. So take one leg, slide it over to meet the opposite leg. Tuck your toes back toward your glutes. Bring your hands around, walk yourself all the way around. Grab whatever props you need to support your wrists, support your knees. Landing in a nice firm tabletop, gently pressing downward through the shins and tops of the feet. Tops of the feet. Nice wide fingers pressing into the finger pads as well as the palms, gently pulling that belly in and up. And just take a moment here thinking about really actively pressing the earth away with both hands, almost trying to lift your spine up and away from between your shoulder blades. And then let that completely relax. So your arms stay where they are, but your heart falls a little closer to your thumb. Sometimes these are called scapular push-ups. Press into the hands, lift the spine, maybe a subtle stretch across the shoulder blades, and then allow that to relax. Allow the heart to fall a little closer to the thumbs. We'll do one more. And then see if you can find that space right in the center where you're active in the hands, the spine and the shoulder blades are level. And then with your breath flowing into some cat tilts. So starting with that big inhale to prepare. As you exhale, navel to spine, tailbone and crown of the head drop. As you inhale, lower the belly, open the heart. Next time you come up into your cat stretch, pause for a full breath, activating the fingers, activating the palms, activating the shins and the tops of the feet. Press and stretch through a full breath. And then allow yourself to come back down. Find that cow stretch opening through the heart and the throat. Pause for a full breath, thinking about really lifting the sternum, lifting the crown of the head. And take a few more here if you want to stay with that pause in each for a full breath and stretch. Or if you want to go back to a rhythm, one movement, one breath, if that feels better. Finishing up the one that you are on. Finding your long neutral. And then we're going to sit back into kneeling. So we're going to bring the hips directly back to the heels and lift the torso up over the hips. If your knees, legs, low back do not like to find hero pose, grab a pillow, rolled up blanket, whatever you have, and tuck it between the heels and the glutes. Or if you have yoga blocks, you can actually bring a yoga block between your legs and sit up on a yoga block. So for some of us just coming into Virasana hero pose, we're already going to have a pretty good stretch in the quads. And if that's you, you're just going to stay right here and find a nice full breath. If you feel like the quads are fairly relaxed and you could use a little more, we're going to start to lean back and bring the fingertips to the earth just behind the glutes. So again, for some of us, just bringing the fingers back. Okay, that's more than enough. You got a good stretch. We're going to stay here. Find a few full breaths. If you want to come back further, start to continue to walk those hands away, keeping your neck active as you go, so we're not letting the head hang. And if your quads are super duper open and you can do it without your knees pulling up off of the mat, you may come all the way down onto your forearms, still keeping the neck active, still making sure you can breathe fully and easily. And pause there. So wherever you landed, we'll take a couple more deep breaths. If at any point you feel like you need to move a little more or a little less stretch, go ahead and adjust. And then starting to slowly lift your way back up. No hurry to get there. Eventually letting the torso come all the way back over the hips if it's not there already. Bringing the hands around to the thighs, and we're going to come over into a child's pose. So again, if you've got props, feel free to go ahead and leave them there. We're going to slide or walk the hands out, let the belly melt down onto the thighs, or if you want to widen the knees a little bit so you have a little more space for the belly to draw down between the thighs. Take whatever version of a child's pose feels good here. Support the head if you like. Stretch the shoulders by bringing the arms onto the back if you like. Make little cupcake hands to release the wrists. Taking one more full breath. And then if you're not in an extended child's pose, go ahead and reach those arms out long so you can press into the palms. And then with your next inhale, press into those hands, lift yourself back up to tabletop. If you widen the knees, bring the knees back in line with the hips. We're going to ground through the left leg, through both hands. Slide the right toes back behind you, lift the right knee. Slide that right leg all the way out to the right side of your mat so it's perpendicular to your torso. Flip the toes to point toward the top of your mat. So this is another place where some of us, just by coming here, we've already found some stretch in the right leg. If that's you, you're going to stay here, find some full breaths. If you want a little more, keeping that right sole of the foot glued to your mat, start to press into your hands and reach your hip back toward your left heel. The left heel, knee, and hip all stay in alignment. So we're not coming off to either side of our mat. We're going directly back. If you can come all the way back, hip to heel, right sole of the foot flat, and you still feel like you need a little more, bring yourself back up. Slide your right foot closer to the top of your mat. And then again, left knee, hip, heel, all staying in alignment. Pull hips back toward left heel. Pause, find a couple breaths here. Again, if at any point you need, finding a little more or less stretch. Next, inhale, start to lift your way all the way back up, aligning shoulders over wrists. We're gonna slide the right foot back behind us, foot in line with the hip. Gonna keep the knee lifted and the toe gently connected. Slide your toes in toward your body, then press your toes down into your mat. Press into your hands and press your body weight back toward your right leg. Relax that pressing back. Bring your knee down to meet your left and take a moment here to flex, extend the spine. A couple more times. Stretching up and then opening the heart. Finding your way back to your tabletop. Left foot slides back. Leg comes all the way out to this side of our space. We keep that sole of the foot fully connected. If we're already feeling a little stretchy, we'll start here, or bringing hips back toward right heel. Hip, knee, heel all stay in alignment. If you need a little more, coming back up, foot slides forward. We still keep the sole of the foot flat, and we still keep right hip, knee, ankle in alignment. Taking a full exhale. Use your inhale. If you're not there already, lift shoulders over the wrists. Slide the foot back in line with the hip. Slide the toes in. Press toes down. Press into your hands. Press back toward your extended leg. And relaxing that, bringing that knee down to meet the right. Pause here in your tabletop and flex, extend the spine. Or if there is a down dog in your practice this evening, go ahead and slide your hands out a couple inches forward of your shoulder. Tuck your toes, float your tailbone, find that upside down V, and then take a moment to move your spine, hips, and legs in your down dog in any way that feels good. And we're gonna move either from a tabletop or from a down dog into a low lunge or grounded lunge. We'll lead with the right leg. So if you're in your down dog, go ahead and inhale your right leg back and exhale to bring it forward. If we're in tabletop, we'll slide those right toes forward. Bring the right hand back to the ankle or calf. Bring that foot all the way forward. Ankle lands under the knee. If you're flowing from down dog, lower your left knee, untuck your toe. And we're going to keep the fingers down for a moment and really just let those hips sink nice and heavy down toward the earth. If you want, slide that right foot a little closer to the top of your mat, finding a little more stretch in the front of the left hip. And then when you find that nice, good stretch, when your right foot has come far enough forward, we're going to lift the hands up onto the right knee. And then either slide your hands to your low back, just let the hands rest at the glutes, or interlace the fingers behind the sacrum. Either way, we're going to extend through the spine, open through the heart. If fingers are interlaced, we can draw those hands toward the left heel, or again, they're just gently resting on the glutes as you let that crown of the head drop back behind you. And then start to slow lift your way back up toward neutral. We're going to bring the hands Back around to that right thigh. We're gonna keep the right knee over the right ankle. We're gonna bring the left hand to the outside of the right thigh. We're gonna keep the knee over the ankle as we twist the heart and belly toward the right thigh. Slide your right hand to your hip or open it back behind you, gazing past the right fingers. Take another big inhale here, really thinking about opening that heart to the right. With an exhale, we'll start to turn the heart forward. Bring the hands back to the thigh for a moment. You can keep the hands here if you like. We're gonna come toward half split or half monkey, or bringing your fingertips down onto the earth or onto your blocks. You're gonna keep that right sole of the foot connected. We're gonna keep the spine long. Lift the hips back toward the left heel. Right foot stays flat. We straighten the right knee. So sometimes keeping the hand a little higher can help us stay long, neutral spine in this first version of the stretch. But again, if you like, go ahead and bring your fingertips down, or if you have blocks, bring them with you. Take another big inhale here, and then with your next exhale, move back a little further, lift your right toes, find your rounded spine, soften through the spine, soften through the neck, let that head melt down toward your right knee. Take one more breath. Starting to walk forward, bending the knee, sole of the foot comes down, knee lands over the ankle. And we'll come into a version of lizard or lizard lunge. So if hands are high, we're gonna go ahead and bring hands down to blocks or floor. We're gonna bring right hand inside the right foot, heel toe your right foot just to the right edge of your mat. Options here would be to let that right knee fall off the right edge of your mat, finding the outer edge of that right foot. If you like to, you can tuck the left toe and float the knee here. If it's in your practice and you can move mindfully, no discomfort, and you want to bring your forearms down onto a block or onto the floor, you can come down onto your forearms. Wherever you land, make sure you can breathe fully, easily. If you're down on your forearms, starting to come back up toward hands. If you're lifted in that back knee, lowering down. We're gonna heel toe that right foot so the leg's back in line with the hip. Bring the hand outside the foot and rock the hips back and forth a few times on your mat. If you would like to transition back through tail of the dog to come to downward facing dog, let yourself come all the way forward to grounded lunge. If you would like to come back to tabletop, we'll stop about halfway in between, come up onto the very tips of the fingers and slide that right leg back to meet the left. Pause in your tabletop or your down dog. Find any movement for hips, spine that feels good. And then flowing into your second grounded lunge, either from table, sliding the left toes forward, using the hand to help, or from your downward facing dog, bringing that left leg back, bringing it toward the hands. Right knee lowers. And again, before we go anywhere, just thinking about letting those hips really sink down toward the earth, bringing that left foot as far forward as it would like to go so you can find that nice stretch in the front of the right hip. And then we'll bring hands up onto the left thigh. Sliding the hands around to the tops of the glutes. Let them rest there as you open the heart, or interlace the fingers. Draw those hands back toward your right heel. And starting to lift your way back up to neutral. Bringing the hands back to the thigh. And we're going to bring the right hand to the outer part of the thigh, keeping the knee aligned over the ankle rather than letting it reach out to the side. We're going to twist to the left. Find a resting place for that left hand, or bring it behind you, gazing past the fingers. Take another big inhale, opening through the heart, reaching that left shoulder back. Exhale, turning the heart back to the front. Moving toward half split, half monkey. Hands resting on the thigh as you make your way back, or fingertips to the earth, or hands to blocks. Spine long, left sole of the foot flat. Find that first variation. Next exhale, allow yourself to come back a little further. Lift the toes around the spine. Head reaches for left knee. Slowly coming forward. And we're going to bring left hand inside the left foot. Heel toe that foot just to the edge of the mat. Lizard or lizard lunge. Tucking the back toe, floating the knee. If that is interesting. Finding the lateral edge of the left foot, knee falling out to the side. And or forearms down onto your block or down onto your mat. If you're down on forearms, slow stepping back up onto hands. If you're lifted in the back knee, bringing it back down. Letting that left leg come back in line with the hip. Hand comes to the outside. We'll rock the hips back and forth on the mat. If you want to come back to tabletop, finding your way about halfway between those two shapes, coming onto the very tips of the fingers. If you want to come back through three-legged dog to down dog, tuck the right toe, lift the knees, slide that left leg all the way back behind you, and then bring it down. After you find a little movement in your table or your down dog, find your way to a wide knee child's pose. If you're not in an extended child's pose, go ahead and slide your hands out long, activate the palms. Inhale, lift yourself up, tabletop. Bring the knees in line with the hips. And we'll come all the way down onto our belly. So support yourself however you like to come down onto your belly. If you want to flow through half plank, hands come out a little bit, hips come forward and down. We keep the elbows drawing in toward the low ribs, belly active as we lower the heart toward the hands. And as we approach the earth, heart slides forward and belly finds the floor. We'll lift into cobra here. So using the support of your low back, drawing your elbows toward the back of your space, lengthening the crown of the head up out of the shoulder girdle. Inhale, lift and pause. Find a few full breaths. Imagine that you could float the hands from the mat. Next, exhale, allowing head, neck, and shoulders to come down. Slide your hands to the top of your mat, cross the forearms across one another, and rest the forehead on the forehands. Bend your knees, point the soles of the feet for the ceiling, windshield wiper the legs side to side. Send the legs long on your mat. Lift head, neck, shoulders. Slide the hands back under the shoulder. Big inhale, lift the heart, pull the crown of the head up away from the shoulder girdle. Find the top and then activate the palms, slide the hands out, elbows land under the shoulders, Sphinx pose. Nice wide finger pads, press down into the hands. Imagine trying to pull your hands back toward your pelvis. Lift the sternum, lift the head, open the throat. And then from here, again, relaxing head, neck, shoulders, cross those forearms across one another at the top of the mat. Forehead rests to forearms. Bend the knees, reach the soles of the feet for the ceiling, windshield wiper the legs. And sending the legs long, lifting the head, sliding the hands under the shoulders. Inhale, lift the crown of the head, cobra. Activate the palms, slide them out, Sphinx. If Sphinx is already a big stretch, or if you're having any discomfort in the low back, we'll stay here, find a few breaths. If you want to add something a little different, seal. So we're still going to make sure we're pressing the hands down and pulling them toward the pelvis, and that we still feel like we're lengthening through the front of the spine rather than crunching at the back of the lumbar spine. So for seal, we're going to step the hands out toward the corners of the mat, lift the elbows, find a little more height, still actively pressing the hands down, pulling them toward the pelvis, find that height, and a couple full breaths. And if we're in seal, we'll lower back through Sphinx first, bringing those elbows in and down. We'll all lower back into crocodile, resting the forehead on the forearms, and then windshield wipering the legs. Sending the legs long on your mat. Lifting the head, sliding the hands back under the shoulder, press yourself up toward a half plank, lift the hips through tabletop, pull the hips to the heels, find a child's pose. Lift yourself back up toward tabletop, and we will come into a pigeon pose here, or a prone pigeon prep. So option would be to come into it from tabletop, to come into it from downward facing dog, or if you know pigeon is not in your practice this evening, go ahead and come over onto your back and we'll find figure 4. So I'm gonna move from tabletop. If you know you like to flow from downward facing dog, go ahead. I'm gonna slide my hands out a little forward of my shoulder. If you're on your back, we're gonna lift right leg. From tabletop, we're gonna slide right knee to right wrist. We're gonna bring that foot under left armpit, so the sole of my foot reaches out toward the left edge of my mat. We're gonna bring our hips down toward the earth as we slide the left foot closer to the back of our mat. And we're only gonna come down as far as we can go without letting our hips fall over to the right side. So if you have preps at home, preps under the right glute can be really helpful to keep that sense of squaring your hips to the front of your space. Options here would be to keep the hands gently connected, to stay lengthening through the spine and lifting through the chest, sort of like we did in Sphinx and maybe Seal, and you could stay there. If you like to round over the leg, you can go ahead and start to round through the spine, slide or walk your hands away, softening your heart down toward your leg or the space just in front of your leg. We'll enjoy a few breaths here wherever you landed, some version of pigeon or figure four. And if you are softened down over your leg, we'll go ahead and start to lift the torso, walk or slide the hands in. If you have a prop under that hip, we'll slide it out of the way. We're going to bring that left leg and foot in a little bit. So we can slide that right leg back to the starting position, or if you transition from downward facing dog, make your way back to your downward facing dog. If you're on your back, find a knees to chest pose or a bridge. If you're in tabletop or down dog, move hips and spine for a moment. And then we'll find our second side from table, sliding the hands out a little. Left knee slides forward to left wrist. I bring the sole of the left foot toward the right side of my mat. Bring those hips down as right leg starts to walk toward the back of my mat. As soon as I feel those hips trying to fall over to the left, I'll either stop there or grab a prop up that left glute. Decide if you want to stay a little more open and lifted, or if you want to round through the spine, melt down over the front leg. And if you're folded down over your leg, go ahead and start to walk or slide your hands in. Lift your torso, eventually activating the palms so you can bring yourself back to tabletop or down dog. Or if you're on your back, again, just choose a pose in center, knees to chest, or a little bridge. And if we're in tabletop or down dog, take that moment to move your hips and your spine in whatever way feels good, and then find your way around onto your back. Lying completely flat down on your back, we're going to bring the hands down to the sides with the palms face up, and we're going to bring the legs a little wide on our mat. So we're sort of between a Shavasana and a reclined star pose, and allow your whole spine to be completely soft here. It's pretty much in the center of our mat. Notice the balance of the weight between your two shoulders on your mat, and then of the two sides of your hips, your two glutes. We're going to keep our shoulders and glutes equally rested down onto the mat as we come into a deep lying side bend. So start to slide your right foot further out to your right side. Let it come as far as it will go without shifting either glute off of your mat. And then take your left leg and start to slide your left leg over like it's gonna meet your right, but for nearly all of us, it won't get there without lifting the hips, so it won't come all the way there, but it's reaching in that direction. And then take your right fingertips and start to draw your right fingertips down toward your right foot, shimmying your shoulders toward the right side of your mat. We're looking for a pretty good stretch in the whole left lateral line, left side body. Take a moment to notice if you found a stretch here. If not, you could try to slide that left foot over a little further or reach those right fingertips a little closer to your right foot. If you want to bring the stretch a little further up into the upper body and arm, take your left arm, slide it up overhead, bend the elbow, reaching the fingertips out to the right. If you bring that left arm overhead and that shoulder kind of pulls up off the floor and it's uncomfortable, you can either grab a prop and tuck it under that shoulder blade, or you can bring that arm back down so it's not quite as high. Notice if the tissues around the lower left spine, left ribs feel relaxed, or if there's tension. And with a few big inhales, full exhales, see if you could invite those tissues to soften. And then either pause here for a moment or continue trying to draw yourself just a little further into this side bend. If your left arm is up overhead, we'll start by slowly starting to slide that hand back out to the left side. And then we'll start to shimmy head, neck, shoulders back toward the center of the mat. Allow that left leg to drop back out to the left side. Right leg to come in. So we're back in that sort of right between a star pose and a shavasana. And then choose one shape in the center here that's symmetrical. So it could just be an east to west stretch, long length. Could be bridge, could be knees to chest pose. Doesn't matter, whatever feels good, whatever the body is asking for. Something in the center, something balanced. And then find your way back to that slightly wide shavasana. Feeling the spine in the center of the mat. Shoulders pretty balanced, hips pretty balanced. Slide the left foot out to the left as far as it will go without lifting either glute. Slide the right leg over as if it's going to try to meet the left leg as far as it will go without lifting that right side of the pelvis. Slide left hand down as if it's going to try to meet left foot as far as you can go without lifting that right shoulder. And then take that moment to pause and notice. Have you found something interesting? Do you want to make any little adjustments? And then decide if you'd like to add in the right arm, sliding it up overhead. Bend the elbow, fingertips pointing to the left. Propping the shoulder as needed or bringing the arm down a little lower. Noticing if there are tensions this side. And then using your breath as that gentle invitation, can you find a little more ease? Maybe only if it's inviting a little more stretch. Starting your slow unwind back towards center. And you get there feeling that whole body. Come back to center. And then again, just tune in here with what would feel good and choose one last shape in the center. Happy baby. Bridge, east to west stretch, knees to chest pose. And then finding your way back to that nice, wide, relaxed Shavasana, or grab a prop to support the knees, or slide the heels in, let the knees rest together in the center of your mat, or bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees rest out to the side of your mat. Whichever shape you're choosing, let it be something that will allow all your tissues to be soft. And then as we did in our deep side bend, just noticing here if anything's still kind of hanging on, anything not quite ready to relax, let go. And with a few of those nice, easy, full exhales, could you create a little more softness? Really allowing the whole body to rest down toward the support of your mat, toward the support of your props. Allowing that softness in the breath, stillness in the mind, to enjoy a moment of peace here at the end of your practice. drawing your awareness all the way out to the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes, creating movement to the wrists and ankles, circling the wrists and ankles into the head, neck, shoulders, turning the head side to side. Inviting your bent knees into the belly, squeezing those knees in. And then allowing those knees to take you over to one side, bringing one arm overhead so you can rest the head on the arm for a moment. Using the support of your upper body, slow pressing your way up. Meeting where we started, easy seat. And coming back to that sense of grounded foundation at your base as you root down through your legs and your hips. You find that long, gentle spine, lightness from the crown of the head, soft in the shoulders. One more time, checking in, physical body, curiosity, observation with your breath. If you like, checking in here with thoughts, emotions. And setting that intention for anything you would like to carry off of your mat into the rest of your day. And with an inhale, bringing the arms wide to the side, gathering up all the goodness around you, bringing the hands overhead. Exhale, drawing all that wonderful goodness to your heart center. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Tuning in, sharing part of your day with me, sharing your practice with me.